Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you again in this conference. And I am Okta and today we will talk about teaching speaking. This is based on Brown Books, chapter 16. Okay, let's get started. Okay, first of all, we will see about the oral communication skills in pedagogical research. First one, about conversational discourse, the ability to accomplish pragmatic goals through interactive discourse with other speakers of the language. And then, teaching pronunciation. Should a language program emphasize the whole language, meaningful context, and automaticity of production focus on these phonological details of language? And then, accuracy and fluency, the two really important speakers' goal of accurate, clear, articulate, grammatically and phonologically correct language and fluent, flowing natural language. So it's like flow just like the rivers, okay? Complexity also varies according to cognitive operation, abstract thinking, quantity of information, negotiation of meaning, and time pressure, among the other factors based on at least 2009. Affective factors. One of the teacher's job to make the students comfortable speaking the target language without being judged by the hearers. And the interaction effect. Speaking usually involves a lot of interaction. Yeah, we know that. Use more dialogues than monologues. Okay. Then, intelligibility. Teacher education programs are being challenged to grapple with the issue of intelligibility and to adopt new standards of correctness and new attitude toward action in order to meet current global realities. And then, corpus-based data on spoken language. Those who create textbooks and courses involved to adopt new paradigms that go beyond the conventional distinction between native speakers and non-native speakers. And genres of spoken language, a specification of difference among various genres of oral production and how to teach those variations. Okay, that's all the pedagogical research. And then let's see, what makes speaking difficult? Okay. This is the factors contributing to difficulty of speaking tasks based on Brown. First one, clustering. Fluent speech is result, not word by word. Okay, so if you want to speak fluently, you have to speak in phrasal. Okay. And learners can organize their output both cognitively and physically in breadth groups through clustering. And then redundancy. Learners can capitalize of redundancy, a feature of spoken language that allows a speaker to make meaning clearer. Reduced forms, contraction, elision, reduced vowels, and other similar characterizations all pose special problems in teaching spoken English. Alright, so next, the performance variables. One of the advantages of spoken language is that the process of thinking as you speak allows you to manifest a certain number of performance, hesitation, pauses, and backtracking, and also correction. So, one of the most salient differences between native and non-native speakers of a language is their hesitation phenomena. And then, colloquial language. Make sure that your students are reasonably well acquainted with the words, idioms, or phrases of colloquial language. And also, the rate of delivery. Another silent characteristic of fluency is the rate of delivery. One of your tasks in teaching spoken English is to help learners achieve an acceptable speed along with other attributes of fluency. And then we have stress, rhythm, and intonation. So this is the most important characteristic of English pronunciation. We will talk about it later on. And complexity. The complexity of grammatical and discourse structure is an obvious source of difficulty. But text complexity can also be a feature that teachers should consider. Okay. The last one, interaction. As noted in the previous section, learning to produce string of language is a vacuum without interlocutors. Multi spoken language is richest component, the creativity of conversational negotiation. All right, now let's see the micro skills and macro skills of oral communication. Okay, this is the micro skills of teaching. Okay, let's see. Smaller parts of micro skills is a smaller part of language, especially those related to words and speaking those words. Okay, for the first one, the produce chunks of language of different length and orally produce different among the English pronunciation, English phenomena and allophonic variants. Produce English stress pattern, word in stressed and unstressed position, rhythmic structure and intonational contours. Produce reduced form of word and phrases. Use an adequate number of lexical units and produce fluent speech. Monitor your own oral production and use various strategic devices, pauses, fillers, self-correction, backtracking to enhance the clarity of message. And number 8, use grammatical word classes such as noun, verb, and etc. The system, the tenses of course, agreement, pluralization, word order, pattern, rules, elliptical forms. 9. Produce speech in natural constituents, inappropriate phrases, pause group, breath groups, and sentences. The last one, express a particular meaning in different grammatical form. That is the micro skills. And let's take a look about the micro skills. So micro skill is a larger part of communication, especially those related to the language choice and body language. So number 11, use cohesive devices in spoken discourse. Accomplish appropriate communicative function according to situations, participants, and goals. Use appropriate register, implicator, pragmatic conventions, and other sociolinguistic features in face-to-face conversation. And then convey links and connection between events and communication, such as the main idea, supporting idea, new information, given information, generalization, and exemplification. 15. Use facial features, kinesthetic, and body language, and the other non-verbal cues along with verbal language to convey meanings. And the last one, develop and use a battery of speaking strategies such as emphasizing keywords, rephrasing, providing a context for interpreting the meaning of words, appealing for help, and accurately assessing how well your interlocutor is understanding you. All right. Let's see the types of classroom speaking performance. The first one, we have imitative. Imitative, we can do repeat after the teacher or repetition as usual, and then drills. And then this is the guideline for successful drills. Keep them short, keep them simple, keep them quick and snappy. Make sure your students know why they are doing the drill, and limit them to phonological, morphological, or synthetic points. Make sure they ultimately lead to communicative goals and don't overuse them. Next, we have intensive. Usually we will do pair work, or focus on language form. And then responsive, we have communicative and question and answer. So I think these three is usually used for the beginner class. Okay, let's see the next one. We have transactional, exchange specific information and also negotiation. And then interpersonal, exchange personal information and opinions. And then the characteristic of interpersonal conversation, we have a casual register, colloquial language, emotionally charged language, slang, ellipsis, sarcasm, and hidden meaning that require understanding between the line. And then the last one, we have extensive, monologue, speeches and reports on various topics. So these are usually used for the higher level, for example, intermediate or advanced students. So let's see the principles for teaching speaking skills. The first one, we have focus on both fluency and accuracy. Use tasks that will improve both the fluency and the accuracy of students' language skills. And then appropriate complexity. Create tasks and activities that meet the proficiency levels of your students. The students' interest, I think this is important because know what your students are interested in and try to use those interesting in speaking tasks. So, for example, in my classroom, the students like to listen to the music, and then I ask them to choose a lyrics that they like, and I want them to analyze the structure of the lyrics. So I think it can make the student more interested in speaking. Okay, and then we have authentic and meaningful context. Using authentic and meaningful materials will make speaking tasks more interesting and fun. And then appropriate feedback. The way you give the feedback can affect students' anxiety levels. Okay. Link speaking and listening. Okay, make sure the student know how to improve their speaking skills through listening. So yeah, we can use drilling to improve their speaking skills through listening. It's just the examples. Okay, next, initiate communication. Encourage students to ask questions and lead the conversation. And then speaking strategies. Pass on the ideas from your own experience to help students find what works best for them. Okay, next about teaching conversation. There are two major approaches that used based on the book. The first one is indirect approach. That is, the learners are more or less set loose to engage in interaction. And then we have direct approach, which means involve planning a conversation program around the specific micro skills, strategies, and processes. Okay, there are two major approaches that we can use in conversation class. Okay, next. Let's see the potential goal to incorporate into conversation tasks. Okay, we know that conversation class is used for, I think, intermediate students. So conversing for both intersectional and interactional purposes, producing both short and long turn in conversation, encourage strategies for managing turn taking in conversation. So it's not only, for example, it's not only the boys and the girl, but we can make with girls and boys and boys. The examples. Teaching strategies for opening and closing conversation, and then initiating the developing, maintaining, and responding to a range of topic. Okay, and then using casual, natural, and formal styles of speaking, using conversation in different social setting and social encounters, so it can make the student they have what experience to what should they use on each settings or in each social settings, and then developing strategies for repairing trouble spots in conversation, including communication, breakdowns, comprehension problems, and then maintaining fluency in conversation through avoiding excessive pausing, breakdowns, error of grammar or pronunciation, and then using conversational fillers and small talk, and then using conversational routines. Okay, now let's move on one of the sample tasks and activities from the textbook. So this is the example of speaking tasks that you can use. So this is the example for the beginner level. You can see on the books page 361 until 368. There's a lot of example for intermediate level and also for the advanced level. So yeah, you can check and maybe you can apply in your teaching. And then oral communication for academic purposes. Okay, we have discussion, yeah. Based on the book, they said that the most difficult aspects is developing the ability to begin and continue discussion in the classroom. And then presentation. The characteristic of academic oral communication is the frequent demand for making presentation. Yeah, I think this is the formal one. Using speaking, teaching for speaking. And then let's see the teaching pronunciation. And the first one we have talked about the teaching conversation, and then this is pronunciation. Okay, in heyday of audiolingual method, the pronunciation was the key to gaining full communicative competence. I think until now the audiolingual method, it's still we can use it until now because it can make the student more drilling. It helps students to pronounce the word easier than the others method. All right, the other oral communication techniques. Let's see. So, oral communication technique, there are oral dialogue journals, games, role play, and also information gap and oral from focus activities. So usually in my classroom we use games, also role play. So for example, we have material about shopping. So I will make a situation for each student and I want them to make a conversation using that situation. So it's the example of role play. For the game, usually we used board game. It's easy to them because usually we only print the board and then ask them to play the board. So for example, we talk about which one do you prefer. So the board will provide which one do you prefer, breakfast or dinner. So the student have to make I prefer to have dinner blah blah blah. So that is the examples. Okay, focus on form and error treatment. The role of feedback. One of the keys to successful in learning second language is the feedback that learner receive from others. Think of the feedback you give to learners as being green light or the positive affirming and the red lines of intimidating or overwhelming. So I think as the teacher, you when you want to give feedback to your students, but you have to prepare the word that will not hurt their feelings. So Yeah, I think you will need the green light one rather than the red lines. Okay, when you should correct the error of learners. Let's see. The global error. Okay, the global error needs to be treated in some way because the message may otherwise remain local errors may otherwise remain the grable. And for if the student make a global error, you should give some advice and to correct them. And when the student make a local error, you can be ignored because a local error not be corrected because the message is clear and correction might interrupt a learner's flow of communication. And then assessing speaking in the classroom. Okay, item types and tasks for assessing speaking. The types of item, the first one we have imitative speaking tasks. Okay, it shows repetition. And then intensive speaking tasks, we can use the direct response, read loud, oral sentence completion, and then dialogue, direct response, and etc. Or we can use translation too. And then responsive speaking tasks, we can picture clue and map clue, elicitation, question and answer, open-ended, and question elicitation of instruction and paraphrasing. And number 4, we have interactive speaking tasks. Usually we have oral interview, role play, discussion and conversation, and also games. So I think number 4 in kampunginggrissemarang we always use, not always, but this is the most used in our classroom: oral interview, role play, discussion, and games. Okay, number 5, the extensive speaking tasks. Oral presentation in academic or professional context. I think this is for the advanced level. And then picture cue for extensive, for example, storytelling, and then retelling a story or news event and translation into the second language or extended text. Alright, so let's see for the evaluating and scoring speaking tasks. Yeah, this is the criteria for evaluating speaking tasks. First one, we have pronunciation, and then fluency, vocabulary, grammar, discourse features, cohesion, sociolinguistic appropriateness, and etc. And the last one is tasks, accomplishing the objective of the tasks. Okay, I think that's all from my presentation. Do you have any questions, everyone?
Okay, Ms. Okta, do you have any tips to teach speaking skill effectively, especially to shy students?
Especially for
Shy students.
Shy students. Okay. So in Kampunginggrissemarang we have one method that we always used. This is called audiolingual method, and I think some students, this is also based on my experience, some students that shy, I will ask them again and again to repeat, so that makes them not feel shy again because they already do it again and again. So I think that's my answer, Miss Neni.
Okay, hi Miss Okta.
Hi Miss Neni.
Okay, I have my student. This is always happen in during my teaching career. Yeah. Okay, my student love said this one. I know what I heard, Miss, but I don't know how to say it. How to respond the non-speakers. Then they always love to say this one. I took a long time to answer it, but my brain still translate it. then what will I say like that? So my question is how to motivate them to just say it, not don't to think too long like that. So how to motivate them?
All right. Okay. This is also happen in my class. So sometimes I just give them the clue, or sometimes I will ask them to what won't you say to me in maybe in bahasa Indonesia first, and then I will translate it into English, and I ask them to repeat using the English one. So I think that will help them to get more vocabulary, and I think that can help them to answer more faster than the usual one. Okay. I think that's all, Miss May.
Alright, Miss Okta, I have a question. It's related to error correction. While correcting the student's error, should we stop them right after they make the error, or we just let the student finish the sentences first? Thank you.
Alright, thank you, Miss Rahma. So, based on my experience too, when we have repetition or drill, when they make a mistake, I will let them finish the sentence first, and then I will ask the whole of the classroom to repeat together. So I think it can make the student feel shy because they make wrong pronunciation because of they will not feel shy because they make wrong pronunciation. That's the answer.
Hello, Miss Okta.
Yes, Miss Yunita.
Yes. I see some students in the classrooms. Some students do well in the classroom, so they can produce the expressions that we want them to say. But when they after the class, when we need to communicate, or they need to communicate with their friends, they tend to go back to speak using the native language, like Javanese or Indonesians. Do you have any experiences or probably the tips from this chapter, how to encourage the students to keep practicing English in their daily lives? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Miss Yunita. So based on my experience, usually after the class we have a review time. So in that review time, I will ask them to retell again about what we have learned today, and I want them to make for example, if about simple present, I will ask them to make a sentence using that grammar. Repeat and repeat again, and after that usually I will give them homework, for example, to make a video about it, and I do that. Or another tips, maybe when they this happen in my campus, so when we spoke use Indonesia, we will get punished. For example, you have to memorize the sentence that you speak in bahasa Indonesia, for example, like that. Thank you, Miss Yunita.
Do you believe do you change your belief in teaching speaking before and after learning the points of teaching speaking from Brown?
I think I already applied several of them in my classroom, so I think I believe that I'm in a right track to use these the strategies that based on Brown. That's
anything totally new for you?
Oh, something that new. I think for the monologue one, because usually we only have dialogue in the classroom between one students, and yeah, I think that the monologue one is new for me. All right, I think that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.